So in case you're wondering how to bind the BetaFpv controller with the Hummingbird Tiny Whoop, well, this is the steps to do it. So first off, it's pretty easy. It could be a lot easier just because these guys both support 3 different protocols. You could look at it like 3 different languages, English, Spanish, French. The technical term is D8, D16, and Futaba mode. And so because of that, this guy actually ships in D8 and this guy ships in D16. If they're both in the same protocol, problem solved, but they're not. So what do? Well, let's go ahead and switch this guy to D8 to match the Tiny Whoop. And you might be thinking, well, hey, why don't I use D16? It's a bigger number, sounds better. Okay, true, but D16 and Futaba, they're a little bit larger protocols, and that's great, say, if you're flying a wing with a bunch of controls that need to turn on and off. But this guy here only has a few controls necessary to fly it, and it's better to keep things simple. That allows for a little bit lower latency and responsiveness on the sticks. So D8 is best for these types of guys. Let's go ahead and do that. Now, the trick here is a little bit finicky at times. Notice when I start it up, it goes green. Oh, there we go. I had the stick up, so it went red, meaning you can't arm because the stick is up. But let's go ahead and turn it off one more time. Watch what happens on startup. So you hear the buzz, turned off. Now it's going to buzz, turn on, buzz twice, and then there, that little amber flash. 1 amber flash means D16, 2 amber flashes, Futaba, 3 amber flashes is D8. If only it shipped in D8. Anyway, let's go ahead and switch it to the D8 protocol. I'm going to turn it off. And what you do is, and it's a little bit finicky to be honest, it's the only thing about this controller I don't like, honestly. It's a pretty nice controller for tiny whoops, except for this one little aspect. So let me show you. So you take the bind button, which normally that's what you do. You hit the bind button here, and I'll show you where that's at. You hit the bind button there, and they bind, and you're done. You don't really have to mess with it again. But to switch protocols, you have to press and hold the bind button in while powering this up. So go ahead, and we're going to hit the bind, keep it pressed in. And you got to keep the bind button pressed in until, keep the stick down, all the way down, keep the bind in, and then hit power. And keep holding it. Turns on, and it should flash. You can kind of see it. Come on, flash for me. Didn't flash. Yeah, it just turned off. Like I said, kind of finicky. Let's try this again. So, bind button, hold. I'm going to go ahead and let it go. Keep holding the bind button. There you go. 2 flashes. You see that? And now it went into bind mode because I kept holding it. So again, it's a little bit finicky. If you struggle with it, you're not alone. That's the only thing I would change about this controller. Otherwise, for what it is, just a simple controller, really ergonomic and easy to hold on to, it's good. So now we're Futaba mode. But remember, we got to get to D8, okay? So let's try this again. So push the bind button in, hold it. Now I'm going to go ahead and let it go. Keep holding, keep holding. There you go, 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now that it's in D8 mode, because it flashed 3 times, all I have to do is turn this guy into bind mode, then hit the bind button over here, and we should be good, okay? Well, we have to plug a battery in first, you big dummy. All right, let's do that. So plug the battery in. And, all right. Oh, I'm cheating because this thing has already been bound. It kept its bind. All right, let me pretend that's not green. That is what it should look like, by the way. Pretend that's not green. Let's go ahead and put it into bind mode, okay? And how you put it into bind mode, there's a little button. Let me see if I can get a good shot at that. Boy, can you see it? It's right there. It's a little teeny button right there. And I would recommend using something non-metallic. There's really not much you can touch and short out there, so it's not a huge concern. Just be careful if you have to use something metal, but otherwise I have this little sticky thing here. Let me go ahead and I'm going to press this button down for about 1 second. You can't be too short, can't be too long. So about 1 second. Ready? 1001. No, not long enough. Let's try it again. I don't think I hit it actually. It's a little button. There you go. 1001. Since you're already bound, are you going to mess with me? Is that what's happening? All right. Let me turn this thing off. There. Now it went red, and it's red flashing. Okay, I don't think it wanted to do anything for me because I was already bound. So now I'm not bound because the controller's off. And let me go ahead, and this is probably the state that you'll find yours in. So if you just hold it down for 1 second, 1001. Nope, not quite. 1001. Well, this is a good demo. Come on, baby. 1001. What's going on? 1001. Is it too long or what? Come on. 1001. I'm going to unplug this and plug it back in again. Okay. You're going to do it this time, right? 1001. There we go. All right, I call this the police car lights, if you can't tell. Maybe what was happening before, since it was already bound, it was kind of put in a weird mode. But you won't have that problem because your new controller and whoop will not have already been bound, right? So here we go. We got police car lights. That means it's in binding mode. Now we got to turn this guy on. Okay. And don't bind on me. It's already been bound before, right? Okay, good. Yeah, it should. This mode should say, I'm going to bind to any controller now. So let's go ahead and put this in to binding mode. And the BetaFpv only stays in binding mode for about 10 seconds. So, you know, if you don't hit it right, it's okay. You can keep hitting the bind button. It's not a problem. So I'm going to just hit the bind button right now. And there we go, police car, and watch what happens. Watch the two. It's doing its thing. And there you go, solid green light. So it kind of went to a red flashing light, a fast green flashing light, and then solid green. That means it's bound. And we can test that real quick by turning on, making sure the throttle is all the way down. And this very bottom one by default, which is kind of nice, this is channel 1. You just flip this up. There you go. That's the arm switch. It won't fly without the arm switch turned on. So if I had that up like this, there you go. So we're bound. We're ready to fly.